The 21st century has been dubbed as the age of anxiety, the United States of stress, the world of worry. The suggestion is that what we are going through, pandemics, terrorism, political and economic upheaval, existential dread, and so on, is distinct, unparalleled, uncharted. From news headlines to social media updates, it's everywhere. The world has never confronted anything quite like this. Hope you're doing well during these unprecedented times. Leaders facing unparalleled challenges. There's no playbook for this. But here's the good news, none of our issues are new. And there is a playbook, one that has been tried and proven since the 3rd century BCE, Stoicism. Zeno used it after he survived a shipwreck and lost everything. Marcus Aurelius used it as the ruler of an empire ravaged by wars, famines, and a deadly contagion, which became known as the Antonine Plague. Seneca used it to endure 2 exiles and 2 natural catastrophes. Epictetus used it to withstand 30 years as a slave. George Washington used it in the darkest days of the American Revolution. James Stockdale used it to survive 7 years of torture and unimaginable loneliness as a prisoner of war. Toussaint Louverture wielded it as he rose up against Napoleon's armies to lead the Haitian Revolution. We crafted this guide to offer you a time-honored playbook to help alleviate your anxiety. It is grounded in the wisdom of the Stoics. This is a lengthy piece. It should be saved and revisited. It can be read in one go, or if you prefer, feel free to click the links below to navigate to a specific section. What is anxiety? Do not give suffering before it is necessary, for most of what we fear happens not. Seneca, often characterized as a sensation, a moment, or a state of fear, apprehension, or disquiet. In the United States alone, 65 million people grapple with various forms of anxiety or stress. Generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, stands as one of the most frequently cited. We acknowledge our anxiety, yet pinpointing why eludes us. The pandemic abruptly altered the activities we once attributed to causing our anxiety. No longer did we rush through security to catch a flight or struggle in traffic to arrive on time. We did not face crowds at the grocery store, cafe, or subway. If told prior to the pandemic that we would no longer contend with these events, one would assume our anxiety would decrease, but it likely did not, because anxiety is unrelated to any of these aspects. What causes anxiety? People are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. Epictetus, few things compare to the sinking sensation in your stomach. Not a physical ache, yet not entirely mental either. You can genuinely perceive whatever it is residing within you, tying you in knots. Pause. Inhale. What is the true origin? Nothing, and no one physically constricts your stomach. It's only you. You are causing this. The Stoics explore this notion. Today I escaped from anxiety, Marcus Aurelius writes in Meditations. Or no, I discarded it because it was within me, from my own perceptions, not outside. This he scribes amid a plague, no less. We convince ourselves that stress and anxiety result from the demands our superiors place on us, or due to imminent deadlines, or from the obligations and interactions we face. When those diminish, it becomes apparent. Oh no, it was me. I am the true constant. Anxiety originates from within. We are the architects. Thus, as Marcus states, we can cast it aside. We can release it. We can heal ourselves of anxiety. 9 Stoic solutions to relieve anxiety. There's no doubt that Marcus Aurelius faced a life teeming with cause for concern. Plagues, conflicts, natural calamities, financial turmoil, irritating acquaintances, personal uncertainties, existential anguish, health issues. Adding to the list, the loss of 5 children. Marcus' life was strewn with strains and anxieties, and if it hadn't been, if everything had been a breeze, we likely wouldn't still be talking about him 2 millennia later. Historian Cassius Dio eulogized Marcus for his composed perseverance. Marcus Aurelius did not experience the good fortune he deserved, for he was not robust in body and was entangled in a multitude of troubles throughout almost his entire reign. But from my perspective, I revere him even more for this very reason, that amidst exceptional and extraordinary challenges, he endured and preserved the empire. So how did he cope? How did he confront all these pressures and anxieties? He relied on his Stoic education. He put into practice what he had gleaned from studying the lives and works of the Stoic philosophers who preceded him: Zeno, Epictetus, Musonius Rufus, and Seneca, among others. He utilized these 9 Stoic remedies for anxiety. Confront your demons. Always define whatever it is we perceive to trace its outline, so we can see what it really is, its substance, stripped bare, as a whole, unmodified, and to call it by its name, the thing itself and its components to which it will eventually return. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus spoke of his stresses and anxieties as perceptions he held onto. They were monsters of his own making. He urged himself to cut through those perceptions and see what they really are. When he felt overwhelmed because he believed he was occupied in the weightiest business, Marcus would look at his royal purple robe and remind himself that it was merely sheep wool dyed with shellfish blood. When he fretted about money, he would consider what money provided: lavish seafood dinners, just a dead fish, expensive, noble vintage wines, merely grape juice. He called this process stripping away the myth, tearing off the monster's mask. Anxiety is bewildering and vague. It can be deep enough to render us motionless. Doubt, uncertainty, fear, worry, pressure, nervousness, they whirl around inside us, and we don't know what to do about it. We're unsure of its exact origins, and we don't know when or if it will dissipate. The first step we have to take is to name it. Matthew D. Lieberman, UCLA Associate Professor of Psychology and a pioneer of social cognitive neuroscience, conducted an fMRI study that showed the simple act of naming an emotion calms the emotional center of the brain. When test subjects were shown images and asked to label a strong emotion, they exhibited reduced activity in the brain region that triggers emotional responses and increased activity in the region associated with vigilance and cognitive control. Lieberman explains, just like hitting the brake when driving at the sight of a yellow light, putting feelings into words seems to be hitting the brakes on emotional responses. This is ancient wisdom. Expressing our feelings in words helps us heal better. When a friend is sad and we get them to talk about it, that will most likely make them feel better. Indeed, ancient wisdom. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Marcus advised to expose things for what they really are and strip away the myth that encrusts them. Unchecked, negative thoughts and emotions will act like uncaged beasts ready to turn on you. They'll provoke your fears, agitate your emotions, and ruin your week. Stress, anxiety, and anger become chronic and debilitating when they persist and fester. It can feel like an insurmountable foe, unless you summon the strength to vanquish them by writing them down. Tame them by naming them. Then close the gates behind them. Live in the present moment. Don't let your reflection on the whole sweep of life crush you. Don't fill your mind with all the bad things that might still happen. Stay focused on the present situation. Marcus Aurelius. We all experience the tug to do more, to visit more places, to make more progress. We are haunted by the constant worry that we are in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing, or rather, that somewhere else, somewhere better, exists where we could, where we should be. This sensation arises not only as anxiety, but also as guilt, envy, fear, and insecurity. In essence, it is misery. the exact opposite of contentment, happiness, and gratitude, the opposite of being present. Marcus Aurelius understood this. Why do you think he mentioned the present and the present moment more than 20 times in Meditations? Every time he is saying, do not fret about the past, do not fret about the future, embrace what is before you at this moment. Be here now, he is saying. Do not be elsewhere. Be here and be wholly present. It is a prompt we constantly require. Our restlessness, reaching almost a cultural level, robs us of the gift and beauty of the moment before us. Instead of engaging completely in what we are doing, we allot only the fraction of our attention that has not wandered off or been taken by the device in our pocket. Then we wonder why time slips away, why we must return to rectify errors, or why we never feel good enough. Cease. Concentrate on what you are doing, whether it is washing the dishes, sitting in traffic, or writing your thesis. Be where you are, whether that means with your children, in a career shift, or at the doctor's office. It is where you ought to be. In the right now, there is nothing else, just this. The present is all that exists. Be there completely. Evaluate your perceptions. First and foremost, do not allow yourself to be carried away by the intensity of your perceptions. Instead, tell them, wait for a moment and let me determine who you are and where you come from. Let me assess you. Epictetus. Every moment of every day, thoughts enter your mind. About events, about others, about yourself, about what you observe, about what you experience. What are you supposed to do with all these thoughts? Well, according to the fundamental principle of Stoicism, the one thing you shouldn't do is immediately act on them. Epictetus speaks of pausing and subjecting every perception to scrutiny. Or, as Dr. Stixrod mentioned on the Daily Stoic podcast, with every thought, we must have the discipline to ask, is this true? Epictetus referred to this as evaluating your perceptions. One of the marvels of the mind is its ability to quickly understand and classify things. We are constantly making split-second judgments. This subjectivity can be highly deceptive and distort reality itself. That is why we must slow down, subject each perception to scrutiny, and confirm that everything we think and feel is accurate. Because most of it isn't. We aren't actually upset, we're simply hungry. We haven't been treated unfairly, it just seems that way. There's nothing to actually worry about. That's just our anxiety speaking. This situation isn't bad, because just as easily we could perceive what's good in it. Or perhaps, as is often the case, we don't need to think anything at all. We can simply silence our thoughts about this or that altogether. Examine your desires. When I see an anxious person, I ask myself, what do they want? For if a person wasn't wanting something outside of their own control, why would they be stricken by anxiety? Epictetus. The concerned father, fretting over his children. What does he desire? A world that is perpetually safe. An agitated traveler. What does she seek? For the weather to remain fair and for traffic to clear out so she can catch her flight. A worried investor. That the market will turn around and their investment will yield profits. All these situations share a common thread. As Epictetus suggests, it's desiring something beyond our control. Getting agitated, getting excited, pacing nervously. These intense, pained, and anxious moments reveal our most futile and submissive sides. Staring at the clock, at the stock ticker, at the next queue, at the sky. It's as if we are all members of a religious sect that believes the gods of fate will only provide us with what we want if we sacrifice our peace of mind. Today, when you feel anxiety creeping in, ask yourself, why are my insides tied up in knots? Do I have control here, or does my anxiety? And most importantly, is my anxiety benefiting me in any way? Do less. We will benefit from that helpful precept of Democritus, showing us that tranquility lies in not undertaking tasks, either in public or private, that are either numerous or greater than our resources. Seneca. Here's a simple remedy for alleviating anxiety. It comes from Marcus Aurelius. If you seek tranquility, he said, do less. And then he adds a note to himself with some explanation. Not nothing less. Do only what's necessary. Which brings a double satisfaction. He writes to do less, better. Follow this advice today and every day. Much of what we believe we must do, and much of what we end up doing, is not essential. We do it out of habit. We do it out of guilt. We do it out of laziness, or we do it out of ambitious greed. And then we wonder why we are so anxious, or why our performance is suffering, or why our heart isn't really in it. Of course it isn't. Deep down we know there's no point. But if we could do less of the non-essential stuff, we'd be better at doing what is essential. We'd also get a taste of the tranquility that Marcus was talking about. A double satisfaction. Prepare for the unexpected. What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster. This is a reason for ensuring that nothing ever takes us by surprise. We should project our thoughts ahead of us at every turn and have in mind every possible eventuality instead of only the usual course of events. Seneca. Around the year 64 AD, Seneca received a letter from his friend Aurelius, who was anxious about an ongoing lawsuit. The details of the case were not known, but it was significant, and Aurelius was troubled by its outcome, seeking advice from Seneca. Seneca's advice was simple. Why worry about potential unhappiness? Why be miserable now over a future possibility? Essentially, he advised Aurelius to stop being anxious because what will happen will happen. This might sound odd coming from Seneca, the originator of the premeditatio malorum exercise that we often refer to. It's even stranger considering that in the same letter, Seneca tells Aurelius, let us think of everything that can happen as something which will happen. How does this make sense? Isn't this contradictory advice? Not at all. The purpose of premeditatio malorum, negative visualization, is not to induce worry, but to eliminate it. By being mindful of all potential outcomes, we can then proceed with our preparations. Who has time for anxiety? We should be strengthening ourselves for what may come. Why waste time preferring one outcome over another? We are equally ready for all of them. But what if the worst-case scenario happens? All right, it won't be enjoyable, so let's embrace the present moment while we still can. Premeditatio malorum, whether kept close as a medallion or mentally contemplated before embarking on a project, journey, or a long-haul flight, is a form of liberation. It empowers us and helps us to face the future by seizing the opportunities in front of us right now. Use it. Embrace stillness. To shrug it all off and wipe it clean, every annoyance and distraction, and reach utter stillness. Child's play. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius led a vast empire. He was tasked with reading books, fulfilling administrative duties, making decisions, addressing legal matters, leading troops. He was a man of great responsibility. Similar to us, he was pulled in numerous directions, grappling with anxieties, worries, hopes, and dreams. Nevertheless, he frequently and eloquently emphasized the importance of moments of tranquility and peace. If you can cut free of impressions that cling to the mind, he said, free of the future and the past, can make yourself, as Empedocles says, a sphere rejoicing in its perfect stillness. Have you ever experienced such a moment? If you have, you understand its significance. You know the insights to be gained, the infusion of happiness, and the release of anxiety. Marcus wrote that these moments of stillness allow us to concentrate on living what can be lived, the present moment. Only then, he said, can you spend the time you have left in tranquility, and in kindness, and at peace with the spirit within you. You deserve such moments. Moments where you watch the snow fall. Moments where you quietly read a book. Moments where you gaze out of a train window, not on a conference call, not checking emails, not wondering how long until you arrive in the city, but simply to center yourself, to reflect on your life and your aspirations. Moments with loved ones, moments of gratitude, connection, joy, creativity, being in the zone, indulging in whatever you do best. What unites these moments? They are free of anxiety. The mind is clear and exalts in perfect stillness, as Marcus described. You are liberated from the burdens of the future and the past, fully immersed in the present moment. Seize those moments. You deserve them. Let go of all but this. We all yearn for that serene confidence that Seneca speaks of, the assurance of being on the correct path, undisturbed by all those intersecting with ours. So how does one attain that? It's quite simple, as Marcus Aurelius stated. Cease concerning yourself with others' opinions. Cease concerning yourself with their actions. Cease concerning yourself with their words. He writes that the only thing that truly matters is what you do. Everything else is beyond your concern. You can release it all. You can disregard it completely. Tranquility is discovered when we cease worrying about things outside our control, over which we possess no power. Tranquility arises when we narrow our focus, turning inward, gazing into the mirror. When we quiet the unruly emotions within our minds, hearts, and bodies. As mentioned earlier, stillness is the pathway to a better life. The harsh truth is that there's only one way to attain it. The good news is that it's simple. You merely need to stop. Stop caring about what others think, say, or do. Instead, care deeply about your own actions. Stop and start now. Consider a different perspective on wealth and money. The creator of the cosmos, who established the laws of existence, intended for us to live comfortably, but not in extravagance. Everything necessary for our well-being is readily available to us, while luxury demands suffering and worry. Let us appreciate this natural gift and recognize it as one of life's greatest blessings. Seneca. Even in his own era, Seneca faced criticism for advocating Stoic principles while amassing one of the greatest fortunes in Rome. Some historians suggest that his substantial loans to the people of Britain may have sparked a brutal uprising there. His detractors mockingly called him the opulent Stoic. Seneca's response to this criticism is straightforward. He may have been wealthy, but he did not rely on it or let it consume him. Despite his vast wealth, he was not known for outlandish spending or indulgence, and was not among the most extravagant pleasure seekers in Rome. Whether his justification was genuine or somewhat hypocritical, his approach offers a sound strategy for navigating our materialistic society and the anxieties that arise from money's prominent role in our lives. The Stoics had a practical, rather than moralistic, view of wealth. Marcus Aurelius once declared to the Senate that he did not consider himself the owner of any of his riches. It belongs to the people, he asserted. Even the house I reside in is not mine. There is a sense of peace that accompanies a less inflated view of money, when we no longer see money as scarce, but rather abundantly common. A weight is lifted. Most of those who possess great wealth are unimpressive, and many vast fortunes are anything but great. Life improves when we break free from the chains of luxury, when we no longer feel the need to continuously toil for more money to pay for things we don't truly need. Anxiety diminishes. Remember, humans can find contentment with very little.